Hey guys, this is Reed with NuWave Composites, and today we're going to be talking about different types of molds, as well as highlighting a specific kind, light RTM. So in general, we make a handful of different types of molds. The first one's your most standard and most common, which is used for open molding. This is your hand layup mold. You're going to have just a shorter flange, anywhere from 3 to 4 inches, and this is just used for demolding in your general purpose layup. The next step from that has a little bit longer flange, typically used for vacuum infusion, to have that extra flange to put your vacuum bag and all that. And those basically handle all of your standard parts that are, one piece or not part of an assembly that goes together. Past your hand lay and vacuum infusion molds, you'll step into another category of closed molding. So what this covers is typically parts that'll go together where you want a finished surface on both sides, like a lid or a door or anything like that. One method is called squish molding or compression molding, where you have your two molds and all your molding compounds go in and those get pressed together and the two parts are molded at once. And then the other kind is RTM, or resin transfer molding. There's really two categories of that. There's a rigid B-side and a light B-side. The light RTM is more common in marine and other small parts. And really where light RTM shines is high production, where you're talking multiple parts per day. So all of the advantages of light RTM encompass the same as your vacuum infusion, but also high repeatability and low labor costs. So the light RTM features a rigid, molded, polished out B-side. So you're gonna get a glossy top and a glossy bottom. And what this does is it accomplishes everything that would happen in your vacuum bagging scenario, but completely reusable along with this finished B-side. So you can see on this mold, we've got a very complicated looking flange profile. And what that does is a couple things. Starting from the outside in, you've got your wing seal. Once this mold is flipped over and put onto the other side, this is the first thing that's touching off around the perimeter and creating the initial seal. There's vacuum ports situated around the part depending on how big it is. But the first one will draw on and it's gonna pull and clamp the B-side down to the A. So you can really think about, when you look at this channel, you'll have two raised sections and then a flat area in between. That flat area in between does the vacuum clamping pressure, and those two raised areas set the height. So those are called the zero stop. So what those do is they let that mold start to draw down, and once it hits those, bam, you're locked in for your correct height. At that point, the inner seal is activated. So that is a denser seal, and that's gonna seal off the resin from your clamping area. In from that, you'll see another depression, and that's gonna be the resin channel. And that's what's gonna act as like the spiral wrap that you've seen on our other videos, where the resin is traveling through the part. And you'll typically have, depending on the size, 1 or 2 resin inlets. So on this part, it's rather large. We have 2 resin inlets. That resin will be typically pumped in. So there's vacuum pulling the part down, and the resin is actually being pumped in under pressure. That will run around the perimeter of the part, and then there's a vacuum port in the center that will pull the resin out once it feeds to that. So these are typically set up with a RTM machine. You can use just a standard, but a less complicated bucket system. You lose some of the speed and advantages of the resin being pumped in under pressure, but you also have a little bit less complexity. With your light RTM machine, it's going to be doing the same thing as a metered gelcoat or resin system. It's just going to be internally mixing the two and pumping them into the part. So really, that kind of encompasses the general theory behind light RTM, how it works, and what its advantages are. This is really best suited for high volume manufacturers where you either need multiple parts for the same boat, or you're generating a bunch of lids or enclosure covers or anything you really need to turn out a lot of volume with. So if you have any other questions or want to reach out to us about some of your molding needs, reach out to us through our website, NuWaveComposites.com, or any of our other social accounts.